Hey everybody, Tim here for today's episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 5, Series Acclimation Mill, aka Sam. I there's so much. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the fact that I have had the shittiest day ever. And so I was like, oh, I gotta get home and I gotta watch this new episode. And then of course work just sucked, so, and I was super late. And then I get home, I'm like, okay, I gotta make a drink, and then I'm like half of what I need. And so I was like, oh, Usagi Numa. And then this episode is just a fucking gut punch. I always keep notes as I'm watching it, and my notes are just off screen, so that's why I'm always like, what's going on? And it's just so, this is probably the most notes I've taken for maybe an episode of Star Trek ever. Spoilers all around. The whole episode is nothing but spoilers, so that's your only warning. That being said, it is a Deep Space Nine episode as much as it possibly can be. And overall opinion, I really liked it. Maybe it's because I had such a shit day. Maybe it's because of lack of alcohol. I don't know. It really got me emotional, especially towards the end. And I'm probably going to get emotional as I go through my notes. I'm going to knock out the B storyline, the sub storyline out of the way first, because I did not give a fuck about that storyline. About just the whole oh, we gotta heat the ocean for these diplomats, and I don't know, maybe it's because I was so focused on the other one. I was just why? I don't care about this. So everything about that storyline, I didn't care. I like seeing the Doctor and Tig Notaro, as Jet Reno, had some great lines about being the pig and the spoons with a hole in them. There were some good lines and there was some good dialogue. But the whole storyline, I was like, I don't care. Get back to Cisco. What are you doing? So from the very beginning, when I sat down and I was like, okay, I have to calm myself. I have to watch this episode. What's happening? Because too often I do start an episode or something and I'm just mentally not there, and I'm like, oh fuck, it's been 10 minutes. What happened? From the very beginning, the opening credits, and so I've said this before. I think I said this in the pilot. I'm not famous, so I can't really get canceled. But I feel like Sam is supposed to be autistic. Those are the vibes I'm getting. Just keeping detailed notes of everything. I don't know. She gives very, Sheldon vibes. She's very, And I mean, that's coming from me. So it's not a negative critique. But it's I feel like that's who she's supposed to be portraying. And from the very opening, with her drawing over the credits and stuff, which was also giving me Cusco vibes, from the Emperor's New Grooves. And again, evidently at this point, Starfleet has interacted with 4,633 different species, which to me actually seems kind of low. But I was like, oh, okay, I mean, at least now we have a number on it. We see the Cherion and the Orion people again, so I was like, hey, good for you for keep it on. I was more interested in Sam's origins, because she comes from the cask group, whatever, and she's an emissary for those people. And I was like, as soon as she mentioned that, it made me think of the Voyager episode where they go to a planet and it's nothing but the EMH1 doctors in a minefield. And I was like, are those the people that have just evolved over the last 800 years? So I want to know more about her origins, or her people's origins, and just an entire society made of holograms. That's, I want to know. It has to be tied to the Doctor. It absolutely has to be. That being said, which in that little clip scene, like the whole like Kylorians vomit glitter, I was like, that's stupid, but funny. And but in that scene where we see the makers, I'm not gonna lie, the maker, like as he's talking to her, kept reminding me of the jellyfish from like the very first episode of The Next Generation. And I was like, oh, is it gonna like loop back around to that? I don't know, it's just the weird shape, but whatever it is. The whole Jaden Kyle thing is still progressing. It has to become a thing by the end of this season, or yeah, it has to be, because for even the very first where they're setting up the barrier and everything, and I was like, it's Jaden and Kyle again, and then by the time you get to the end of the episode and they're dancing together, I was like, this has to be a thing. It absolutely has to be. I did laugh with the whole like blood flows everywhere, and then they cross the word penis out. And I actually like rewound it, and I was like, did they actually say the word penis? And they do, and they crossed it out. So it's like almost like a censor. And it just, I don't know, almost like Lizzie McGuire. It very had like a 90s type kids theme with just drawing over everything. Before Sam gets to the Cisco like picture, we do see the Guardian of Forever, which I'm a big fan of, so that was kind of cool. And then as she's talking about Benjamin and the prophets, you hear the DS9 music kind of playing in the background. I was like, oh, that's so nice. As soon as she opened that picture book, I was like, I need that. That needs to like be a replica. That needs to happen, and I need it. I know they have golden books. For those of you who are old, like myself, they still make golden books. Like, you can go to the store right now and you can buy like a Jurassic Park, or even they have a Deep Space Nine, ABC's golden book. I need this golden book. It needs to be a thing. One of my favorite lines, I'm going to butcher the name, so I'll take a drink so I can blame it on that, was Schrodinger's prophet, because he's both alive and dead at the same time. I was like, that's actually fucking funny. Like, that's some educated nerd humor right there. The Bajorian Club was kind of fun. The Cisco Museum in New Orleans was kind of fun. I like that. The parts that started to break me is when we actually saw Jake, like the actor, as he is today. And he's like, my dad loved baseball and he'd knock out a Q. Which, as somebody, like, do I have that right here? Boop. As somebody who loves Q, look, you like how I just pulled that out of thin air. And the whole Q collection, and like the one Deep Space Nine episode is Cisco knocking him out. So stuff like that. This one of the scenes that bothered me is Jaden talking about the Roctagino was gross. And the only reason, like, if that had been the only scene where I was like, oh, Sam messed up the recipe, I would have been fine. But the fact that the first fucking episode talks about Ractagino, maybe it was episode 2, I don't know, they came out at the same time, talks about, oh, Ractagino, and I even made a note of it in that video. I was like, wait, they already have Ractagino, so why is it different now? So I wanted more of that. I'm not gonna lie, I missed some of the Chekhov's gun, where like they bring up Jake's unpublished book, Ansalam, which is Bajoran for father. And like as soon as they bring it up, I did think, I was like, oh, that's a hint. But I underestimated how far that they were gonna go with it. So, and it was so incredibly great. As I keep going, like this is deep spoiler territory. Like, you're not waiting anymore. Like, with a D, wading. The scene where they're looking at the San Francisco skyline, as somebody who grew up in San Francisco for a short period of time, I'd completely forgotten that the show takes place in San Francisco. Like, we need more scenes of them going out to, like, the cadet bar and stuff. Like let's see fucking Lumbar. Like, what's Alcatraz 1,000 years in the future? Like, I do want more of the San Francisco life. I do want to see a little bit more of that. I'm really curious. That being said, that they immediately included, like, a drag queen, and I was like, fuck, the the conservatives are going to be pissed about this episode. It's just going to get written up. But I liked it. I thought it was like, oh, that's kind of a cute little gotcha. And then again, they immediately followed that up with like a Morningwood joke. So as we got to the end, and then we got the other interaction with Jake and his unpublished book and stuff like that, I really liked it. This is the part. For those of you who I'm gonna cry. For those of you who have not followed me the entirety of my short-lived, unsuccessful YouTube career, when I first started, I started with the original series and going through all that. And as I kept going, I would start following the actors and I would tag them in my videos because I would post them everywhere, especially on Twitter at the time when I was still on that, which I'm not anymore. And as I got to Deep Space Nine, I had started tagging all the actors and everybody who, like, all the actors for the episodes. And the only actor who ever responded to me was Aaron Eisenberg, who played Nog in Deep Space Nine. And like it started very, very nonchalant, and I was just like, hey, I'm watching this episode of Deep Space Nine, tagging every single fucking actor that was in the thing. And Aaron actually started responding, and he would like comment back, and he would like he would actually like email me like messages about stuff. And it was very surreal, especially at the time. And I was like, oh my God, like this actor is talking to me. And like, obviously like I have like 300 people. So like this has never blown up, but he was very nice and he was always very sweet. He was like, did you know? And he would always comment back. And so when he died, like it fucking broke me so much. And I did a whole video of like contribution to that, and his family even replied to that, and it was a big thing. And so to watch this episode, and I mean, like they didn't bring up other people, like they didn't bring up Odo or Dr. Bajir or Quark or anybody like that, but I feel like just seeing or hearing Sisko's voice and talking about Jake, I feel like the Nog mythology has still grown. Like I know he was in like the first episode in the name and stuff, and they did the documentary a few years, and like, oh, Nog would have been a captain, because they were talking about doing another like kind of future season like they did with Picard. But I feel like he would have been involved in this, and I feel like it would have been great. And just see the future Jake just made me want to see the future Nog. And like this episode was just such a love letter to Deep Space Nine, and it was so good just to see all the little shout outs and all the little references, which I've only touched on like a fraction of them. Yeah, I gotta take a drink. And then to send it off at the very end, which I'm like, do I like this or not? I don't know. Where the whole teacher, I didn't catch it, I didn't predict it. I'm not gonna lie and be like, I knew that the whole time. For Leia, the teacher, to be Dax, and I was like, oh shit, like that's like Jadzia and Curzon. Like I was like, oh my God, like Dax. But then I was like, wait a minute, in Deep Space Nine, do they give like a lifeline? Like they can only survive a certain amount of time? Because I feel like 900 plus years is pushing it, even for a Trill. But still, I was like, obviously that can't be just like, that's it, that's your only reference. And then to get the end credits music is the Deep Space Nine theme. And I was like, oh, it's so cute. So this episode, I don't know if it was just I had a shit day and this was very nostalgic, or like it is a well done episode. But I was like, oh, like it was exactly what I needed at the moment that I needed it. So, I don't know, there's a lot going on in this. Like, the 5th episode of the show, and they're like, hey, let's really throw the punch. So I'm curious what you guys think, because I do better with interactions. Like, drop me some comments, and I will do my best to respond to everybody. But I'm curious what you guys are thinking. 5 episodes in, so this is probably the halfway point, right? Because seasons these days only last like 10 episodes. So we're about halfway, probably. Let me know what you guys are thinking about this episode, about the season, the show as it is so far, all of the Deep Space Nine stuff. I was really expecting Avery Brooks. Like, I was expecting Sisko to walk through at some point. Do we want a new Deep Space Nine show like Picard? Let me know what you guys are thinking. Please like and subscribe. It's the only reason I keep doing this. Thank you guys just so much. Thank you guys for everything. And I will see you guys next time.